Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. How's Eddie Frederick?
So glad you can join us. The Organization of American States, the O.A.S. Elections Observation Team, scores the conduct of Antigua and Barbuda elections very high. This story takes the lead in today's edition of Caribbean Perspective for Tuesday, 24th January 2023. Details when we return.
Hubbard's Motor Department Mount Gay and Hubbard's Tire Bay, located at the Building Supplies Compound in Grand Anse, are reminding the motoring public that another round for licensing and inspection has begun. Just arrived on new shipments of quality furrowed and torque tires to fit all makes and models of vehicles at competitive pricing. Shop early to avoid the hassle of long lines. WhatsApp them on 473-405-5482. Hubbard's, quality service, affordable prices.
Welcome back. Antigua and Barbuda election process receives high marks for its professional conduct from the O.A.S. Elections Observation Team. Kalisha Humphreys of ABS News reports.
Though the Organization of American States Electoral Observation Mission praised the electoral process, the recommendations in its preliminary report suggest a need for improvements across the board. 9 experts visited 181 of the 188 polling stations and met with stakeholders while in country.
We have not yet identified any issue that could in any way negatively impact the proceeding. Every polling station we have been to, things have been moving well. Polling stations opened on time. They had all of the supplies and materials that they needed. They were fully manned. The presiding officers I found to be very accommodating, very helpful. I suspect that many of them are teachers because they displayed that kind of care and attentiveness to the people they were dealing with. So we're very impressed. I mean, all the rest of my team that we have been in touch with have reported similarly. We're very, very impressed.
The wide-ranging recommendations include merging the Antigua and Barbuda Electoral Commission and the Constituency Boundaries Commission as a means to ensure greater equality in the distribution of electors across constituencies. There is also a recommendation to use a biometric verification system to ensure accuracy of issuing voter ID cards to eligible voters. The report also makes recommendations in relation to increasing female participation and leadership in politics. The O.A.S. mission also wants an improved system of ensuring deceased individuals are removed from the election register and are also calling for the regulation of political contributions and campaign expenditure. A detailed report will be presented to the O.A.S. Permanent Council in Washington, D.C. and shared with all stakeholders in Antigua and Barbuda.
In the meantime, still on Antigua, the planned and soon-to-be-executed expansion of the Five Islands campus is expected to provide a major boost to the local economy when the U.S. $80 million project gets started. More in this ABS News item.
Another news, principal of the University of the West Indies Five Islands campus and professor of international business, Denzel Williams, says the expansion of the campus will provide a major boost to the local economy. The government signed an agreement with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia last week for an $80 million loan to build out the campus. Professor Williams explains how this will drive an increase in aggregate demand across the economy.
I can map the economic benefits of this investment eventually when it starts into flow. But suffice to say, from an anecdotal perspective, $80 million being invested in this campus over, I would say, the next 3 to 5 years is a significant injection of capital in a local economy that has a GDP of about $1.5 billion. So if you think about that, the multiplier effect is going to be tremendous. You're thinking about a multiplier of maybe 3 to 4 that you're going to be seeing this, and then the indirect benefits as well with the shopkeepers and all of the persons who will be having jobs and stuff is going to be tremendous in terms of just the economic benefit. But
meanwhile, Professor Williams says this investment in the campus will position the country to be at the vanguard and benefit from the fourth industrial revolution, which the world is now on the cusp of.
We're also building a set of modern facilities to facilitate digital learning. As you know, we have the first school and the only school now in the university system, a school of computing science and artificial intelligence intelligence, because what we're trying to do is to build a new next level of digital learners. And in that, we also have the first degree in the university system as an interdisciplinary degree that is in data science, that is in computer science and innovation management. But what that degree is trying to do is to build the next set of learners who can now create the next Google, who can now create the next Airbnb. We call them platform or sharing economy.
Well, it is projected that the student population will grow to about 5,000 within the next 3 to 5 years. At present, 700 students are now enrolled at the campus. Professor Williams explains how the build-out of the campus will proceed after the start of works within the next few months.
Plan by 2027, we should have the first phase, what we call phase 0, build out of our facilities, where we're going to have the dormitories. We're going to have a 200-bed dormitory. We're going to have an administrative complex. We're going to have a learning resource center. We're going to have classroom spaces for, especially for digital, etc. All of that should be completed by 2027 maximum time frames.
The Bank of Jamaica has sought to assure the public that it supervises all deposit-taking institutions in response to Jamaicans' shaken confidence in the financial system after the recent fraud at the financial institution where millions have been reported to be embezzled.
Now, the Bank of Jamaica BOJ in a statement says it is concerned about the recent reports of alleged fraud involving financial institutions and their potential to negatively affect confidence in Jamaica's financial system. The BOJ has sought to assure the public that it supervises deposit-taking institutions, commercial banks, building societies, and the sole merchant bank in Jamaica remain adequately capitalized and liquid. It says all deposits in these institutions remain safe and secure. The BOJ says it is working with these supervised institutions to continuously upgrade and strengthen their internal controls, including ensuring fraud prevention and early detection systems, including through the deployment of advanced technological reporting and analytic tools at globally accepted levels. The central bank notes that in the recent case of alleged fraud at the National Commercial Bank involving a wealth advisor, the stringent internal controls insisted on by BOJ assisted in the early detection of irregular transactions and ensured that the risk was kept to a minimal level relative to the capitalization of the institution. The BOJ says it will continue to monitor the developments in the financial sector closely to ensure the soundness and stability of the financial system.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick.
The discrepancy regarding the results in at least one constituency in the recently held Nevis Island Assembly elections may be a sign of the swing against the incumbent Concerned Citizens Movement, says political analyst Peter Wickham. Andre Huey of SKN Newsline reports.
Peter Wickham was addressing the election petitions filed by the Nevis Reformation Party, the NRP, while a guest on the Caribbean Current Affairs show The Narrative.
We have an interesting situation emerging where there's been a court case filed in one of the seats that the NRP lost, where they are alleging that there was an outcome in which you had more seats, more votes counted than were declared as having voted. And the Premier himself acknowledged that you had one number which related to counted votes and spoiled votes, and then you had a number plus, I believe it was 6, that amounts to votes that were supposed to have been cast, which suggests that more people voted than voted. And that is something that we have challenges explaining. They're essentially putting this to the court and saying, look, we don't know how it happened, but we know that something fishy has happened, and they're asking the court to declare that seat null and void and to have a re-election in that seat. Now, in a situation where that happens, I think it could be a game changer, because if Premier Brandy loses that seat, ultimately he loses the government.
While no set date has been set for the hearing of these petitions, Mr. Wickham believes, based on previous trends, it may take some time. He referred to the last major election petition back in the 2011 Nevis elections, which the then opposition Concerned Citizens Movement won.
The NRP won the election, and there was a successful challenge against some voters. That process took the better part of 2 years. But once the court ordered that there would be another election, Premier Parry at the time, he essentially just dissolved Parliament and said, well, look, if I'm going to have an election in a deciding constituency, it's better that we challenge the whole thing and we go off and have them all. And he did that. He called an election. He lost that. And that was how the CCM got into power to start with under Vance Amory. So it could probably take about 2 years. Election petitions tend not to be quick in the Caribbean, and I suspect that this is one that will take them a while to see how to work out. As to what will happen, I'm not sure what the court will decide, but ultimately it does seem a bit suspicious. And, the swing was clearly against the CCM in every single constituency but that one. That one was the only one where there was a marginal swing in favor of the CCM. And I do find that seems a bit odd. Bearing in mind also that in Nevis, they have a large overseas vote. They have this itinerant vote, which St. Kitts has as well. And it is widely acknowledged that the number of people who are not resident in Nevis would have voted in the election. That is perfectly legal in the case of Nevis, and that point needs to be made.
The NRP is alleging that discrepancies were recorded in the Nevis 2 seat contested by Premier Mark Brantley and Patricia Bartlett of the NRP, which saw more votes cast than what was registered for at least one particular box. They also allege voter irregularities in the Nevis 1 seat, which was won by CCM's Spencer Brand and was contested by J.D. Keynes of the NRP. I'm Andre Huey for SKN Newsline.
Bahamian Prime Minister Philip Davis addresses climate change at the Inter-American Development Bank Symposium. ZNS's Fern Kerry reports.
The diverse group of climate health and disaster risk management experts from here in the Bahamas and across the region brainstorming at the Inter-American Development Bank Symposium Thursday in order to flesh out solutions and develop plans to mitigate the fallout from disaster risk and health emergencies stemming from climate change. IDB Country Representative Daniela Marquise called for an integrated approach in order to respond effectively to the challenges of global warming and to build resilience in small island developing states like the Bahamas, which is one of the top 10 countries globally that is most vulnerable to the climate change crisis.
Given the urgency of the climate crisis, the IDB established an interdisciplinary team, P2RCT, to assess the risks and vulnerabilities of climate change in the Bahamas and to design activities aligned with the government's climate change agenda to enhance climate resilience in the country. The acronym P2RCT stands for Preparation to Recovery and Reconstruction Country Team.
Now, the Prime Minister says mitigating the risks of climate change is pivotal as it also has an impact on the economy.
Our debt burden remains high, in significant part due to these climate risks, including the need to regularly rebuild homes, businesses, and infrastructure after devastating hurricanes. Our cost of borrowing prices in the risk of future hurricanes, so we are, in a sense, already paying a high price for the intensifying weather patterns of tomorrow.
The Minister of State responsible for disaster preparedness, the Honorable Miles Sarota, maintains that the Bahamas has legislation in place and is moving proactively to address climate change, particularly as the 2023 hurricane season is months away.
History will not judge us based on the strength and magnitude of these tropical cyclones, but on our response to ensure the sustainability of our nation for future generations. To fight this battle, we must consider various measures to ensure our resilience in facing this new reality. In this regard, the Inter-American Development Bank, the IDB, is to be commended for spearheading the establishment of the Preparedness, Recovery, and Reconstruction Country Team.
The symposium closed out with a networking reception. For the Bahamas Tonight, I'm Fern Carey.
Hubbard's is once again innovating the way you shop with its new online store, providing 24-hour shopping convenience. You can shop now for appliances, hardware, houseware, building material, and more. Free delivery island-wide. Start shopping now at hubbardshardware.gd. Safe, convenient, reliable.
I am Eddie Frederick. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean. In the meantime, please continue to log on to CaribbeanPerspective.com for more daily news and more.